So, how do you sell something? This one question is what so many entrepreneurs struggle with. You've got a great product, right? You know your product is simply amazing. It's the best. It's really the greatest thing that has ever happened to you in your business. It's so great that everyone who comes in contact with it would want to buy it. But that good product, that great service that you have to offer is simply going to grow old or even possibly die on your shelves if you don't come up with a marketing plan to get the word out about it. Now, as an entrepreneur running a small or medium-sized business, you probably don't have that huge marketing budget that other businesses have. Let's face it, if you had that bigger budget, you probably wouldn't be watching this episode right now. You're watching this episode because you want to learn how these small and medium-sized businesses manage to scale up and make huge sales in the most cost-effective way possible. I'll give it to you straight. Small and medium-sized businesses, they have really two major ways to get the word out online about their business. The first way, and one way that I'm pretty much biased to because I do this 99% of the time, is through something called a customer sales funnel. So if you don't know what that is, stick around. I'll tell you all about it in just one sec. But the second method is through something called a website. That should be a little bit more self-explanatory, but I'll also go through what that means briefly too. Now, in this episode, I'll be breaking down these two marketing approaches for you. I'll be telling you all about their pros, we'll go over some of their cons, and really everything else in between. I'll also be telling you the differences between both methods, and I'll leave it up to you to choose which method you would like to use personally to scale your business to the next level in the online world. So, without further ado, let's get to it. So as you probably know, a website is a collection of web pages. For small and medium-sized businesses, a website is usually several pages that host content about the product or the services that they offer. It also includes information about sales or discounts or programs or the contact details of the business. And most times it usually comes with a link where customers can either order something, book a session, contact them, and sometimes even have the blogs. Now, of course, all this information exists across several web pages, and all these web pages are actually integrated on one platform under one domain name. That's what a website is. With a website, you don't have to target customers. You can just come up with the content, post it, optimize your website for views, position yourself with ads, and you will get hundreds and even thousands of views on your website per day. Where a customer sales funnel is fundamentally a lot different from a website. So a funnel or sales funnel is where we walk the client through step by step through that entire buyer's journey, aka we walk them through step by step to purchasing or sign up to work with us. When you build a sales funnel, it generally is built around attracting visitors and leading them down a funnel, as the name implies. Sales funnels have become so common that if you ever see a random advertising campaign, let's say on Google or on Facebook, there's actually a 70% chance that they are making use of some sort of sales funnel. The typical sales funnel usually includes 4 specific steps. So the first step is that awareness stage. The awareness stage is when the potential buyer gets important information about the business or the product or the service or even something like a freebie. The next stage is the consideration stage, where the potential customer or buyer starts to consider whether they should get that product or sign up for that service or not. Now, after the consideration stage is the conversion stage, where the real business of buying is actually done. This is the stage where the buyer decides that buying the product or signing up for the service would be a good use of their money and decides to move forward with you. Now, after the conversion stage, this is the last stage, which is the loyalty stage. So at this stage, the first sale has been done, and the customer stays connected with the business as a loyal customer. This is where you're building the relationship. Now, to build a successful sales funnel, you have to understand terms like email sequences, landing pages, lead magnets. These are all what will help you lead your prospective client through that funnel. But more on that in just a little bit. Now that you know what websites and customer sales funnels are, let's compare them to see really which direction your marketing should be going with. So the first thing that you should know is that this really isn't a battle of which approach is best. You can actually make great sales with either approach, and you can even combine these approaches, which honestly is what I recommend, what I do with all my clients. But A customer sales funnel and a website, they really do serve the same purpose. Both are platforms that allow the world to see what you are doing in business. However, the most fundamental difference between both is that a website is more like an open book, where a sales funnel is more, well, like a funnel. Let's use an analogy to explain it better. Imagine you're on a camping trip and you need to catch something to eat. In a situation like this, you've really got two options. Option number one is to take your rifle and go hunting for that game. Well, option two is to find somewhere where you think the animals are going to pass through, lay down a trap, go home, and just hope that the trap catches something. In this analogy, the website is the trap because it is super passive. You don't have to target, or you don't have even a target that you're aiming for. So any random person can just land on your website to see what you're putting out there and hope, well, you hope that they take the action that you actually want them to take. However, it's not the same with a sales funnel at all. With a customer sales funnel, you go out hunting. You go out scouting for the sort of clients that you actually want to work with. You lure them in. You give them reasons why they should hire you or work with you or buy from you. You cajole them, and you do all sorts of things until they finally bite and they finally see that value in your proposition. Now, an easy way to put it, a website presents your business and products or services in a very high level. So traffic flow, as you know, is the flow of clicks or traffic on a particular platform. Traffic can be heavy or light depending on how many people make that click. So for websites, traffic is usually non-directional. This means that the audience can really do whatever they want. They can press here, click there, do whatever the heck they want. You can have dozens of web pages on content that tells your audience why they should hire you, buy from you, but your audience may not want to read through all that. Instead, they may want to look at something totally different than what you want them to look at. Maybe it's like your blog, for instance. The customer sales funnel, on the other hand, is unidirectional. This means that the funnel is built with the intent of making the audience go through specific stages that are not necessarily of their choosing. Now, of course, they can opt out, they can close the page, but if they do, they get to see nothing else. With a sales funnel, you control your every interaction with the potential client from the consideration stage all the way to that loyalty stage. So let's talk about conversions. Your conversion rate is the proportion of traffic or people that land on your web page or your sales funnel that ends up making a purchase. This ratio can be boosted with conversion rate optimization. However, if you want to boost your conversion rate on your website, you have to add in other elements like a landing page, sophisticated plugins, and shopping carts. Whereas a sales funnel, on the other hand, comes ready-made with these elements. As you guide your audience through your sales funnel, really, you can optimize your conversion rate without heavy upgrades to your entire process. All you do is make small tweaks. The predefined pathway of sales funnels mean that you can carefully guide a potential buyer all the way through the stages that they need to pass before they can actually buy or work with you. Where an ordinary website, they cannot do this without encountering, honestly, huge problems. This means that web design is a lot less particular than the sales funnel. Sales funnels, they really allow you to target clients, tweaks for the sort of clients that you actually want to see, and fine tune the funnel to achieve that back end goal. So for example, a website may be focused on pushing as much information about a product as possible. It may contain web pages and web pages of content about this particular product, let's say. But a sales funnel is a lot more targeted. Sales funnels aren't about the volume of traffic. Instead, they're about the quality of traffic. The further into a sales funnel a customer goes, the more likely a potential client will become a real client. So for example, the kind of sales funnels that I personally create generally focuses on attracting a certain kind of client avatar and is set to achieve a very specific goal in the back end. Now, this doesn't mean that websites aren't useful for converting strangers into customers. They are, and they also have their unique uses. So for one, websites are very useful as a virtual contact for representation. Websites also help your audience to develop trust in your brand. So for example, let's say if someone learns about your product or maybe about your service, their first instinct is to usually go and Google you. They're going to Google your business name. If they Google your name and they can't find your website, and obviously they can't find all the information that they're looking for, you potentially would lose out on a sale. But if they find a website that gives them all the important information that they need to know in order to make that decision, they're going to be more likely to make a better decision if they found that information. Now let's give you another example of how both of them work. So let's say that you're just scrolling through Instagram, okay? And you saw a product that you wanted. So you click on the link, and what's going to happen is you're going to go to the website, you're going to start browsing. So you click on the link and it takes you all these different tabs, there's a bunch of different products, you get distracted. Now what happens if your kid walks in the room or your phone rings? You're going to be even more distracted. So you close your computer, you forgot why you were on that website in the first place. You're not going to go back, or you're probably not going to remember. Whereas with a sales funnel, you click a very similar. So if you're going to go with sales funnels for your business, here are some tips to guide you. So first things first, your funnel must cater to your ideal client. Like that is across the board. It must talk to their pain points, their desires, and it must take their needs into consideration. That's the only way it's going to attract the sort of business that you are actually looking for. So some people, they like to use the fake scarcity, saying that there's only X number of products left when there's actually a whole lot to drive customers through that sales funnel and encourage them to purchase. You don't necessarily have to do that. You can appeal to your audience with honesty and they're going to respond with loyalty. So trust me, it works. Now, not only can websites and funnels work together, they should work together, but only if you can make it work. So let's go back to that hunting analogy. So when hunting, you don't have to choose one or the other. You can set up a trap. You also can still go out hunting for prey. I know, this is kind of a crude analogy, but it passes my point pretty perfectly. My point is this. If you can use websites and funnels to achieve your conversion goals in the back end, then you absolutely should. If you can't use a website because of budget constraints, you can use your Instagram or your Facebook account as a mini website where people can go and find all the relevant information about your particular business or your offer or your service. But I do seriously love sales funnels and I highly, highly recommend them to you in your business. Now, before we go, do you mind if I ask you a quick favor? If you learned something new today, anything new today, do you mind clicking on that like button? It really gives me the feedback that I'm looking for. And of course, feel free to share this video or my channel with those who need it most. My name is Lisa Ann, and that's all I have for you today. But again, thank you so much for being here. I honestly appreciate you, and I cannot wait to see you next week. Bye.